with that, we might actually get started, I think. Alex, did you want to kick things off? And
Yeah,
then,
for sure. Thanks everyone for joining. So this is our first Relevance live session in the community. We are aiming on doing more sessions, so we'd love to hear from you guys as to when you want more sessions, what times you want them, what you want us to cover. And so Ahmed is going to lead us in this new session. He's going to take us through some of the sales agents that he has built. If you don't know Ahmed, you should definitely go follow him on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. He is our resident influencer here at Relevance AI. Look at him blush. And he has done some amazing work in creating agents for lots of different use cases, especially for sales. And he's listed a lot of agents. I think it's about 30 to 40 in our new marketplace, which you can go and use. And so he's going to take us through today some of his process with building these agents and the agents he's built for sales. So Ahmed, I'll get you to take it away. And at the end of the call, I'll try and answer all your questions. But at the end of the call, we'll get Ahmed to go through any questions that I have left unanswered. So Ahmed, take it away.
thanks, Alex. I didn't realize I'd done 30 agents in the marketplace. I guess I might need to find another hobby, but I'm probably in too deep now. So here we are. Yeah, look, I'm really keen for this session to be quite led by you guys in the chat as well, because ultimately, I know you've been in the community for a while, and I know we're all, from very different spaces around, where we work, obviously where we live, but also what sorts of things we're building, what level we are in relevance to. So really important that I cater this to you as well, making sure that we all get something out of this. There might be a couple of you from the AI bootcamp who are in one of yesterday's calls from the bootcamp, who regrettably you might see a lot of the same things today. But if you did have any questions that popped up after that call, this might be a really good time to surface that as well. So hopefully this is a session that's good for everyone. But while I guess get started with a bit of context, feel free to obviously tune in. But if you have any questions or things that you want to have covered very specifically, just pop those in the chat as well at any time. And either Alex or I will, mostly Alex will answer them in chat or I will answer them on the call. And if they make sense to bring up as full topics, we can do that too. But obviously, I might also cover them as the session goes on. So, yeah, I think really what we wanted to cover today was AI agents in sales. And what I'm not going to do is go through just like one of the more standard templates. I mean, I'll give you a sneak peek of it already, but I'm sure you've all already seen it. Like, simple account research templates or, emailing or LinkedIn DMs, things like that. What I want to talk you through is a lot of the different verticals of sales and how to think about building AI agents for those in terms of broader categories and what is useful for, I think, most companies that want sales agents. And so it might end up being quite broad. We can dig into more details, but the point is I want to cover the broad spectrum and we can go from there. So I'll just bring up my screen now and we can get started. So again, a couple of you in the Ops Bootcamp would have seen this yesterday, but this is one way to think about how to build AI agents for sales, at least from my experience. And I've spoken to yeah, probably hundreds of businesses now this year, and they've all tended to kind of fall into these main categories of what they're looking for. So we got lead scraping, we got research, we got outreach, and then we got cleaning everything up and reconciling it in CRMs. At the end of the day, like conceptually, what people and businesses are looking to do, whether you're a solo founder just getting started or a small business or even enterprise, is you want to generate lists of leads. And so that's just generating a list of people who are a certain ICP or companies who are a certain ICP, and then the people from there, having all their information hopefully enriched as well with like their contact details. So that is what this whole lead scraping here is about. It's really just getting that list to start things out. A lot of those you can just do one off. You can buy a list on Apollo. You can make an agent that continuously scrapes it because sometimes that list is ever changing. So that's okay too. But there's a lot of tools around that. And then, with those leads that you have, you obviously want to send them really good messaging and know them and understand them and actually be able to rank them as well. Like you can't reach out to all 10,000 contacts in your list, but maybe you want to reach out to 1,000. So you want to know who's best. And that's what you can do with research agents over here, right? Like these agents are basically taking a company name or taking a prospect name and then helping you to generate like a good research report about them. So really understanding more about them. And that can help to tier them, like creating a tier one account list versus, maybe an account list that doesn't quite suit your needs. You can't typically do that as much on this stage. And then obviously the third part is reaching out to those people. So that's where we really benefit from both of these because we have the list, and then we have those people who are more researched. So we can combine that with the information that we've given these agents around our company or whatever it is we're working on, plus like some custom prompting that helps them to, write really good messaging. So we're joining all this together and then sending out messages. And then the last part is obviously you want all this to be tracked and recorded. Like I don't want to research a company and that research goes into the abyss, right? That's kind of like my IP now, right? So I want to put that in my CRM. So imagine that these steps where you're doing research. Well, I mean, even the leads go into the CRM. The research goes into those leads pages on the CRM, and obviously the activity gets tracked in the CRM too. So these are equally as important to involve. So I would say that those are the four broad categories. Now, if you look at this list over here, I mean, there's around sort of 8 to 10 in many of these categories. And this, it's a lot simpler. Just covered a lot of the main CRMs. And by the way, all these templates are available in a template packet on Marketplace somewhere for you to clone. But there's a lot here, and so these cover like various different variations of what might happen under each vertical. For example, account, prospect research. This one's more VC related. This is reviews pitch decks. This is a competitive intelligence agent. And with emails, there's emails, there's LinkedIn, there's an inbox informant, there's a meeting follow-up agent. So uh, I wanted to put together the broad categories so you don't just see like 25 or whatever agents, but you can actually understand, okay, what's the job to be done in the company and how do we match an agent to that? So again, don't think too much about what the agent is, more so what do we need to achieve and then setting up an agent for that. So that brings me on to, I guess, one of the more like sort of the overarching points. And again, it's hard to judge everyone's sort of motivation for being here today. I know a lot of people are trying to build for their own companies. Some people are trying to build out like their own agency to consult to build AI agents. Big opportunity at the moment. And there's other people that Ashley looks like you're doing a marketing agency as well. So um, the key here is like one of the big problems I see is people are thinking tech or solution first. And I really think that it's a bit of a harmful mindset to go down just because um, it's quite hard to like actually driving any meaningful change, right? Like we're in month 8 of the year, almost on month 9, and having a lot of the same conversations because businesses are looking for this big silver bullet. But the reality is you solve your lead scraping problem first, and then you solve your research problem, and then you solve your outreach problem. So it's really about building small things to start with. And as you see, all these are very specific. I'm not building one, master agent, not building an entire agentic system from scratch. This was really layered from the first step. Like this Atlas agent over here, which looks eerily similar to me, just by coincidence, uh, is the first agent that I built, and I found value at it at my last company, and it saved me hours a day, but just one task. So it's really just starting with one thing. Don't worry about all the things you can do, but just doing the one thing first. And so what that might look like is, let's say you audit your day and you're a salesperson or you're a founder doing sales, right? You look at a task that is very high quantity, very repetitive, but is actually quite simple as a unit of that task, right? Like let's say researching a company is perfect. Might take me a couple hours to research that company. So let's look into the process here. Like I've laid out a process here that emulates me researching each company. If I were to do this manually, or really just taking a company name and doing some Google searches and some LinkedIn stuff, essentially like that would take a long time for me to do manually, but the logic is the same. So it's like, how do I automate that so I can save a couple hours of this brainless task almost after you've done it, for days and days and days and weeks, and win back 2 to 3 hours of my day every day. And then you extrapolate that over, weeks, months, a year. That's almost like a full-time job, right? So it's really just focusing on those things. So when I'm starting out with sales use cases, I always look to, ask them, what is the one low-hanging fruit process that takes up a couple hours? Because if it takes 10 minutes, don't automate it. But if it takes a couple hours, automate that. And if it's obviously simple enough and you can write down in a job description, just like I have here, what that task is, right? Research a company, use these data sets, and then give me this output. That's essentially what this is. If anything, a bit overcomplicated words wise, but that's essentially what this is. That is the SOP for like dozens and dozens of different enterprises, right? They just do the same research process. So you can imagine for small businesses, it's quite similar. I'll take a pause here to see if there's any questions pop up. I understand it might take a second for you guys to type, but I'll just read through some of these. Actually, that's a really good question. So let me see if I can get another version of this agent. I have two versions of Atlas, and this might illustrate that point really well. So this first version, which is the one I just hand out now, is technically very, agentic based in that I've given it an objective and then I've given it tools, so things that it can use, and then I've given it an output. And every single time it runs that task, it might run it differently in a different order. It might Google search something different. If it doesn't find that, it might try something else. The point is that I've not, prescribed a certain order of action. So that is what deterministic sort of workflows are. And since LLMs aren't that deterministic, like what we can do is either just let them sort of function on their own agentically, and that is like giving it tools and an output and be like, hey, just go find the information. I don't care how you do it. But another version of this agent, so take a quick mental snapshot of this. Another version looks something like that, which can be very deterministic because I'm saying you will use this tool first, and then that one, and then this one. I'm, prescribing an order of events. And so, like, especially with sales, this sometimes might be the way you have to do it. With very general research, like sometimes you don't know what you don't know, but you know that you need a report. You maybe don't know how to get all the information. Very sort of general, broad spectrum agents are perfect for that. But if you do have like a specific way and, certain websites, certain pieces of information, maybe you link to Crunchbase or something to get certain information that's more accurate than LinkedIn, that is when I'd start to get deterministic. And I just want to stress that you can do that. It just really depends on what you want to achieve with these agents, essentially. So that is how I would keep the agents on track, really. You can add more instructions if you want. So just think of it as like the simpler and the more vague, they'll be more agentic, they'll do whatever they can or want, but you can add some guardrails in there and some conditions. I know it doesn't look like you're seeing a lot of nodes and, if this, then that logic, but the platform handles it just as well. Look through some of these other things. Okay. How do you know when each vertical has enough agents for the roles? How do you know that you have covered all the right roles for the agent in each vertical? So looking, hope I answered that question off you, Ashley. Looking at this over here, again, I almost think that we overthink and are overexcited by the idea of AI agents. It's really interesting coming from me. Someone works at an AI agent company, but what I'm trying to say is AI agents are kind of like a means to an end, right? A technology was unlocked for us that lets us do certain things more so than regular automations. But the fact is that a lot of things that we want to achieve here could be done without like LLMs in the first place, way back. But now we can just do way, way, way more with LLMs. Um, that being said, it's resulted in this thing where AI agents, sound very, very cool and like they can do all this stuff for us. And so we start to explore the idea of the agents. But really, I would not think about, do I have the right roles? Do I have the right agents? I would think, am I covering the different, tasks? So ideally, if you can map out outside of relevance, outside of, any platform that where you build the thing, if you can map out on like a whiteboard or on a Figma or FigJam or whatever, what your processes look like, ascribe like a certain amount of time that would take for each one, the impact and everything, then you start to have all these jobs to be done. I'm a real big fan of the jobs to be done framework. Then you have a bunch of different things where, okay, like it makes sense to automate this, automate this, automate this. It doesn't matter how I do it. It just ends up being that agents can do that a lot better. But it's more so like, what problems am I solving? So if you solve those problems and it's 2 agents or it's like 7 agents, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong. It's more so, did I solve the problem? But then I want to allude to Victoria's question as well, because it seems like it might be around the same sort of thing. Like, how do you decide whether to create an overarching all-in-one agent versus a specific agent? So if we go back to here, like I wanted to stress that there's like these 4 different categories because it just makes organizing things for me in my brain a lot easier. Like this is not a connected workforce. I just like having a canvas. I can connect them and I'll show you connected examples. But essentially what we've got here is like different agents that cover different jobs to be done. And you'll notice that, for example, Atlas, the account analyst, just does research. And then Emilio just does email writing. And so going through an example of, let's say, Emilio and Pluto. So Pluto is like the prospect version of Atlas. So research is a prospect. If I build my agents this way, they're each serving a job to be done. I don't want to have to write the same email instructions for 1,000 agents, but I know how to write them really good once. So what I'll do is I'll make one email agent. And so that's kind of like the source of truth for all my like cold email outreach. And then I can just add that agent to another agent that is specialized in a different role. And then, yeah, from there, like they can work together. Like for example, over here, I want to research and send a message or an email to this lead. And Emilio knows that Emilio is a good email writer. Doesn't have anything to do with research, but we've got a research specialist over here. So it actually delegates to the research specialist. They produce a report, and that comes back to Emilio. So the key here is like I'm not trying to do an all-in-one agent. And the more specific example of why is I don't have to write these instructions every time I create a new agent and attach like an email capability to it. That's the whole idea of Workforce. And also, if my email is bad, but my research is good, I know which agent needs refinement. So I can actually go into this agent and be like, okay, the email copy was pretty bad, but the prospect research was good. So I'm going to go and edit my emails and refine that process. So it makes it a lot easier to test and iterate. Think of it this way: like I have to hire BDRs that do like 4 or 5 different jobs in a day because that's the limitation of hiring, and you have to pay someone a salary. So you got to get your kind of money's worth, right? But kind of like with agents, it's not really a concern, right? Like I can make the tasks more niche so that each performance is better. And so that's what we're able to achieve with these guys. So I can start to add in like, okay, I also want a LinkedIn, let's say this Leonardo, the LinkedIn agent, to be involved too. So now I can just bring him in. And so I can know for a fact that this version, this agent is really good at this thing, and then just start to like loop them in. So now a LinkedIn DM, for example, will also be sent. And it really works that simply. So it's just reliability testing, iterating. And that's the whole jobs to be done thing. So, Victoria, would I make an email agent and an email agent for marketing if the tone and templates were different? I probably would. Like we do, we have our own cold email agents, and we have ones that do like life cycle marketing because the tone's a bit different, right? Someone floated the idea to me the other day of having like a tone of voice or like a brand guideline agent. Um, but another way to think about it is, do you foresee your instructions being like super long and super different? Because if you're trying to do 2 use cases, one agent, is it going to have to read like double the prompt? If so, it's going to be double the cost every time. And it's also going to be like double the effort of going through and like iterating on the marketing side versus the sales side. Like this prompt here, I've been able to fine tune it for sales. It would be twice as long if I tried to do it for marketing. So, I mean, just for sheer like ease of editing, I'd probably make them 2 separate agents. And Rudolph, I believe there already is a Slack trigger in Workforce. No, okay, Alex just told me that there isn't, but I know that there's a Slack trigger for agents, so Workforce will come pretty soon. Um, okay, I think, I mean, I've covered a lot of the things that I wanted to cover just for starters, so I might just let the questions lead the way because I'm getting some good questions. How does the LinkedIn DM work? Which account is it using? So, with regards to LinkedIn DMs and emails, and someone I think way at the start asked about how LinkedIn and scraping and stuff works. So I'll cover that too. So let's bring Leonardo back in. Oops. Okay, so with Emilio, sending out the emails, you can use a Gmail step. And how it works with authentication, just so you know, is I can go over here into integrations and I can add in my accounts for things. So you can log in whatever account it is and it will send from that email. You can also log in like 10 accounts or 200 accounts. We've got on one of our workforces, it's got like a lot of emails. And you can, in the tool for the agent, select which email it's sending from. And then you can put your name. So, yes, these emails can come from you. It's the same with LinkedIn. So, I would authenticate over here within these tools. And then that's how the sending works. Got different like actions that I've set up, like send the first message, send a follow up message, there's entire like SaaS startups that come out of LinkedIn outreach tools. So you'll understand it wasn't extremely easy for me to build this, but I kind of got the flow right. And all these templates are available for people to clone too. Um, so like I've already set up the logic for it to work. You know, send a message, check the chat, send a follow-up message, etc. These are all using your LinkedIn account too. So whatever you authenticate with. With regards to scraping and research, Pluto, for example, like these tools over here, like get personal profile from LinkedIn, recent posts, basically anything where we're retrieving information from LinkedIn, like specifically, that is something that Relevance has set up themselves. So you don't have to worry about connecting your account for that. Um, I don't know if you're concerned for our well-being or not, but like you don't have to worry about compliance or any sort of things like that. But with regards to sending the messages, that was you, Victoria, who asked. I on this agent over here, or I even have a connection, LinkedIn connections agent. I would probably limit the DMs to. This is not legal advice, but like it's a disclaimer. But I think something around like 100 or a couple hundred DMs a day is considered safe, though the rules are very vague. There's no written rule, so just be careful and space them out. But like it's a couple hundred LinkedIn DMs that can be handled, and with connections, it's way less. It's like 20 a day or something. So I have a LinkedIn connection agent, for example. It doesn't connect with more than 20 people a day because you reach a limit, and then if you keep spamming beyond that limit, you might flag something. So just be conservative. Again, like 15 to 20 connections or a couple hundred messages. This is not my explicit advice, but just thought I'd let you know. Okay, what else do we have here? Yeah, Ian, if you could clarify a little bit that question, that would be good. But just as you do that, how about scraping for Facebook, Instagram? How's it differ from LinkedIn? I'm glad you said that. So these are some agents that I've been somewhat passionate about recently that are very much slept on. That me and my good friend Artem have been building out like a decent list of them. I mean, these are also just tools that we run. There are a lot of other platforms where you might want to scrape leads. Like for example, these over here from LinkedIn typically use like Sales Navigator type search. We have our own like, sort of integration partner with that. And then there's other ones like finding Google Maps, like local businesses. Like there's a lot of businesses that are not on LinkedIn, but I was surprised to learn that a lot of people really want to scrape not only Google Maps, but also like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. There's a lot of use cases there. What we use is Appify. So I would look into Appify. There is a native tool step in Relevance to use Appify scrapers. So look into it's over here, appify.com. Look into their different scrapers. They basically have a marketplace where you can utilize someone's built the scraper thing and you can get lead lists off of Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. So like over here, we've been able to, get uh, a list of Instagram followers from an account, which is apparently quite useful. Or like if everyone comments a keyword on a post on Instagram or on LinkedIn, you can also steal those commenters, and you know that they're looking for a certain product. It's one other way to do it. And TikTok comments is kind of the same thing too. So yeah, that's how people often scrape from those different places. So I would really encourage checking out Appify. There are some tools on Relevance that work really well where you don't need Appify, but Appify is a really good supplement, and a lot of people are sleeping on this right now. So you'll be glad you had a look at it. Um, okay, just looking through. Actually, on the LLM side of things, there is no fixed answer, but what I would say is like you'll start to get intuition and like there's a certain amount of testing that I would encourage you to do before you like put this all into like deployment. And so if these instructions were say, and like if I can see it in one window, like almost the whole thing, 4 mini is already really good. But if I'm starting to get really long instructions, I would then look into I would look into like 4.1 I mean, we've got GPT-5 now as well. So I would look into different models that can handle a much higher context window and also like would probably do better with the instructions. If I'm trying to do creative writing, I might go to Claude Sonnet. Um, my general advice is though that you'll never find like a rule of thumb, like it's changing every day with new models. What I would do is ask the actual language models themselves because they know the best. So ask ChatGPT. You can even say be unbiased, and sometimes it'll actually recommend Claude for a certain task. So that's a good way to do it. You can feed it the instructions and be like, hey, I got these instructions for an AI agent. What will yield me the best results? And they'll just tell you. So there's no answer I can give you that would be better than the LLMs because you're going straight to the source. Um, I'm afraid like there's a lot of questions coming in, so I hope I don't miss any, but I'll get to your question. Victoria, if I create a sales agent, I want all the team to use it. They have to set up the tools. Uh, what you can do is create different versions of the agents. So the questions around like maintaining access to the agent setup after sharing. If I improve the prompt, yeah, that's a tough one. What you can do is log in a lot of accounts on the agent and have different tools for sending emails. Say like an email sends from, I don't know, like Alex, or an email sends from Rudolph, or an email sends from Ashley, and then have the agent decide, which tool it'll be using. But as far as like consistent instructions, like can you change in one agent and it goes and changes it across all agents? That's not really a feature we have at the moment because it kind of opens up the floodgates a bit. So you might have to manually change things. Because my suggestion would have been to have, say, 5 agents, like 5 Emilios, for example. Um, so it is a bit of a tough one. Like what we do now is we essentially like in relevance, we have one rep, Ben, who's sending out all the emails. Um, and it kind of goes with the whole ethos of like you don't need to scale your headcount. But that one account sends like 10,000 emails from like a few different like warmed up emails. So yeah, it's a tough one. One thing you can do actually is create an agent that yeah, actually, sorry, disregard what I just said before. I just had a thought. You can create an email agent that is like the back end logic of how to write emails, and then have another agent that is connected to it. And maybe you could have like 10 for 10 different reps that are like specific to those people, but they cross-reference with the email expert. So you'd only need to update the one email expert. So I update like my email composition guidelines, let's say, and I've got like 10 SDR agents connected up here. And they would like that. That's how you can think about it. I don't know your specific process, but that is one way you could make an edit that it affects a lot of different agents at the same time. Um, yeah. Okay. So let's keep going. Uh, Rudolph compared to Clay and Swan. Yeah. Look, when it comes to like vertical tools, like, how do we compare with tools that are really specific with regards to research? Look, if you want like a table interface and you want to do waterfall enrichment, like we're not claiming to be better than Clay. And often those tasks are like one-off, like just sort of yeah, enrich an entire list of accounts. And Clay works great for that. What we're really building here is like an autopiloted workforce. So again, going back to this agent suite, a lot of these are like one-off tasks, and I might be able to achieve the same thing in any verticalized platform. By all means, if there's a platform that says, uh, you know, we do this specific thing, and that's the exact thing you're looking for, you can use that platform too. It's just a case of, okay, am I trying to set up autopilot processes? If it's an AI SDR platform and the messaging isn't quite right, am I able to edit that? Am I able to add other things on top of that as well? am I building an infrastructure for myself? Often when you go with vertical tools, you'll realize the potential that AI has, and the tool will work really well. But then you'll say, okay, I want to add more onto that now, but that's completely up to that vendor. They might not have the features you want. So this is more so, okay, like I'm building something for myself, I'm building something for my team. I'm maybe able to emulate the same features of like another SaaS, but I can actually start building more and more. So let's say it's an email only SaaS, like vertical tool, or a research only one, that I can't really connect like integrations to that as easily. Maybe with Clay it's a little bit easier, but like I can't connect a lot of autopilot agents. It's not as easy, and I have to juggle different tools. Plus, I also have to make sure that the staff who are using the tools know how to use Clay and Relevance now, or Clay and Swan, or Nooks, or whatever it is that you're using, or some CS platform. So suddenly we're split between a lot of different user interfaces too. So the main advantage to this is like if you're trying to build for like a breadth of an actual AI workforce. That's why we don't call ourselves the home of the AI agents. It's the home of the AI workforce because that's the ultimate thing. I'm seeing that with customers. It's like the success rate of customers who are building and stay on and don't like sort of I guess go to other platforms is not when they've just built one really good agent. A lot of the times, yeah, but most of the time it's like, okay, we've built a few different agents now. And it's not just sales, but it's like customer support is seeing the value and marketing is seeing the value now. And we're sharing resources and we're all learning this platform together. So I'll I'll spare you the pictures and everything. That's just my honest thoughts. I think if there's vertical tools, great, but if you're thinking long term tech stack, I think that's where relevance it really helps. So being new in the AI space, is there a definitive video or set of videos that would help a newbie learn in this space? I did. Yeah, there you go. I think Alex has answered that. I've made one, um, and I hope it's still up to date. I think it is. In terms of the UI, and I hope to make it more soon. If I was bootstrapping an agentic sales team, what would be the top 5 tools that'd be worth paying for subscription-wise to get the most out of the team structure you've shown us in the beginning? When you say tools, do you mean agents in Relevance, or are you asking me for advice on other tools outside Relevance? Might want you to clarify that one, just so I'm sure I'm answering the right question. Because if you were answering, let's pretend you were asking about relevance, I would obviously like the research side of things and the lead list side of things you can achieve in relevance. And so, yeah, like there's a lot you could already do with these, and you don't need to pay for other tools. You just need to pay for relevance because relevance manages the cost. So, okay, it looks like you are asking about other tools. Wait, I'm seeing your follow-ups now as they come in. Um, I'll let you fully clarify that. Oh yeah, so okay, so I mean, I'm going to assume that you're talking about tools that connect to relevance as well. Um, and so, and of course, things like sending out emails and like the infrastructure and stuff around that. Because yeah, there are a few things that you might want to have. So if we go back to the drawing board here, you will need an Appify account over here. As far as I'm aware, and I don't know how this works or how long it's going to work for, but if you have an Appify API key, even if you've just got a free account, and you plug it into these Appify tool steps, I'm pretty sure that Relevance, just as things stand right now, will just charge you credits. So you don't need like a paid Appify subscription. But if you want to just link Appify via API, if the costs work out better, you can also just get an Appify account. With these lists over here, like getting a broad, list of companies or a broad list of like LinkedIn profiles. But let me bring up an example over here. So just bear with me. Um, yeah, like let's say I want to list like this, where I've got just a bunch of companies and people and LinkedIn URLs and stuff. Um, like a lot of companies will end up paying for LinkedIn Sales Navigator because they've kind of locked you in. It makes sense because you also get like LinkedIn premium capabilities and stuff. But if you're just looking for lead lists right now, you can use Relevance to get leads and emulate the LinkedIn Sales Nav search, which looks something like this. And I think it's, to be fair, like a pretty important thing as part of the sales process. Um, like this kind of search functionality, you can technically emulate in either Apify or Relevance. But then when you start to want to message or keep lists, use other premium features, Sales Nav does kind of enter the foray as a tool that you should have. Another thing is obviously your CRM. So that's kind of like your powerhouse. Relevance is not trying to replace CRMs anytime soon or probably ever. What we're really trying to do is be like the kind of person or like the agent or the tool that uses the tools. So you'll definitely still need a CRM. We integrate really well with HubSpot and Salesforce. HubSpot I know is a really good lightweight for like if you're starting like a sales team. HubSpot has some good free plans. We also integrate with like other ones called like, for example, Attio and maybe like Zoho and things like that. A lot of them, but I'm just naming the main ones. Also Airtable, if you want to make your own sort of like custom CRM, Airtable can actually work. I've found. It just depends on how much you want to set it up. Last thing is email infrastructure and like deliverability. I would recommend setting up something like Instantly or Smart Lead, or even potentially Outreach, but Outreach is a bit more expensive. And so you'd want that for if you had like a larger sales team, typically like mid-market enterprise runs those ones. Thanks, Ian. Good to have you. Um, so yeah, in terms of sending out emails, like Relevance can send them, but we don't match the user experience of like tracking email send rates, doing A/B testing, tracking campaigns, and also those platforms help like set up email warm up, and they're really good with that too. So just like having that as well, and Relevance sends the templates over to Smart Lead, and then Smart Lead sends the emails. That's how people are doing with Clay as well. I would recommend having like an email infrastructure tool too. So make sure you have that. Just trying to see if we have any more that we've not thought of. Well, obviously, if you're paying for this yourself, you'll need Google Workspace in some capacity. Um, and I would also recommend having note takers in your stack for when you do like sales calls. But I think there's a lot of free ones like Grain or Fathom. And if they can send you sort of meeting notes, you can create agents like Freddie over here that do follow-up emails based on that. So that can be pretty powerful too. But yeah, I think that probably covers that side of things. Um, I will. I've been yapping for a long time, so I'll await a few more questions. Um, I'll basically just take a quick pause. Alex, did you want to add anything, or did you have any things that you think we should cover, or all good? Yeah, looks like we've covered a decent amount. I'm just going to scroll through and see if I missed anything. Really, I think like the key takeaway is probably like 20% of what I said today is just, just get started with building out a process for one agent. Everything else will come naturally. You'll be like, I want to send these emails now. What do I use? Then you'll try and fail with like sending them out just by Gmail, and then you realize you'll need a tool. So the tools will naturally reveal themselves. This is the kind of thing where like just putting in the reps will reveal to you what the best way to do it is. Not so much around like creating some grand master plan, because I didn't plan all this out and then build it. I basically I had no idea. I built one, and now suddenly there's 20 or more. Um, and so that's typically how things go, unless you're like a seasoned expert in sales and running enterprise sales, and you know what these org charts look like. Um, I Now I've got a bit more of a sleeper build there, Alex. I'm not good enough to rep you guys. Uh, Demi, will you run a similar live but on marketing AI ops in the future? Could do, could do. I've seen a fair amount of what goes into marketing and also creative and things like that. I actually I talk a lot about AI all the time, but I barely ever actually use it. I'm mostly just helping other people build it. So I took a bit of a break and started experimenting with like creative writing, content systems, creating images, and then creating video. And honestly, I was like, okay, this is yeah, we're living in a very interesting time. I've got into that because I was doing all that short form content online, and that's what people want to see. So I mean, there's the salesy marketing side of things, in which I think a lot of the principles here might apply. from sales to marketing, and then there's the other creative side of marketing. I'm very happy to cover that at some point soon. If Alex will be kind enough to have me back, but yeah, I also might bring on maybe someone else from the team too, who is actually in the marketing team, because I think there's a lot of like knowledge that we could sort of cross share there. But what I could maybe bring is just some advice on like content strategy, life cycle marketing, the salesy side of marketing, and also like now sort of media generation is definitely an interesting space. Like created an agent the other day just to give you a little sneak peek. 'Cause I personally think that like sales and marketing are very intertwined in how you build. It's a lot of like create this output, and if you want more people, if you want to make more output, you need more people, and then often the process is the same. So like I've created a few things. Like I'll give you some sneak peeks since we got the time. Um, like for example, where is Cosmo? I made Cosmo over here. Creates carousels, which are pretty important. I kind of made a joke out of it. I have to run it again actually. So let's run it again. But essentially, what Cosmo does is it takes a user's input, creates a storyline, and then uses 4.0 image generation, but a lot more advanced, to create a bunch of carousel images. So that's just simply like this agent is one big language model linked to another sort of more fine-tuned language model with a prompt that basically is like well crafted in terms of how to create very good image prompts, like real precise ones. I mean, when you put in images and you start to get like a lot of things change. This is more so like keep a consistent style, aspect ratios are stated and all that, and then it actually creates the images too. So that's one thing. So it's all about the context. To your question, Ashley, around how did you go with content writing, tone of voice? Um, yeah, it's all about examples. So it's like I've still struggled to find anything that writes. This is gonna sound so yeah. This is gonna sound bad, but like I haven't found anything that like a way to make LinkedIn posts as good as me on with AI. I mean, like as good as me handwriting them. Like I have fed it past examples of my best work, like that have just I guess like vanity metrics wise, like impressions and stuff have performed the best, and it's still just it's put something out there that I'm like, this is okay, but it doesn't have the same source. So it depends what you're doing it for. If you're trying to be like, if you're trying to go viral with media, it's one thing. If you're trying to just create like standard documents and some sort of more boring stuff, it's good. But the best way is over time, just giving it more and more examples and just reprompting it and stuff. Um, I think context engineering is more important in this space than than prompt engineering, because if I give it a bunch of examples of posts, it's kind of half the way there. Like I basically have this agent over here that I fed a lot of my previous posts, and so I can basically be like, I've got this post about model relevance protocol. I need your absolute best. Here's like my previous posts, and it made something. I didn't end up really using it because it was okay, but it gave me an idea. So maybe you start at like 60 or 80%. Um, that's if you're trying to make exceptional content. If you're trying to just like put out a lot of content, I think it's fine. But yeah, it does still struggle. I think the language models aren't there yet. Um, and to be completely honest with you, not to go on down a rabbit hole here, but I think that like as AI gets better, it'll only all become more similar. Like as Claude gets better, as ChatGPT gets better, like the answers you're going to get are all just going to be quite similar. If you put the one prompt in, you'll get the same answer out. Whereas humans, we have a point of view, right? So even with sales messaging, I would encourage you to sometimes, if it's a really important opportunity, like go in there yourself and write some messaging too. Like if it's down the line, like I'm not trying to automate everything. You have a customer on the line on the hook, great. Go personal with that. AI is good to a certain extent, but I can add context, and how I do that actually, for example, is I could put it in a knowledge base, or I could put all my best work into ChatGPT and say, hey, I want you to create some personalization guidelines, and so it will create like it'll try and take the features and then be like, okay, this is a framework that I think makes Ahmed's content work in a certain way, and that's what we'll be doing with sales as well. but sales is a little bit easier. You can get away with it not being, crazy good. So yeah, that's how I would do it. Let's go back to that agent, see if he created some images for us. Um, as we see, we've got one. There we go. What are AI agents? It's got like this really interesting image. So yeah, you can do a lot with these. There's really limitless places you can take it. So I might do a separate session if there is demand on how to do content stuff for sure. I don't want to steer this away too much. Juliana, I saw something here. When using the variables for my own company, would I benefit from having my company information in my snippets? Yep. Yeah, you would. I would say yes. I build a lot of these as templates, so they're not snippets, because I hand them out to people, and so they can easily change it. But if your company description, like if it's just the one company, of course, I would say use snippets. For those who don't know, snippets are basically what you have um, over here. So let's say Atlas has some information about our company to make the research process better. These are variables. Snippets are versions of these that live across the entire account. So I can basically just reference like a snippet in many different agents. What that means is I don't have to copy paste this into each separate agent. I can just reference this snippet. How do you integrate the knowledge that is constantly updating based on user requests? Yeah. How do you integrate the knowledge that is constantly updating based on the user's request? I want to make my agent learn. So Alex just mentioned to me like Google Drive is a good way to do it. And yes, that is correct. There's two mindsets around this though. So there might be another approach too. So the first way is like we have implemented like live knowledge base updates with Google Drive, and I believe with Notion now, whereby if you have a Google Drive folder and then you put in different files in Google Drive, the agent will basically like, get triggered, and it will know that something changed and it will update its knowledge or something like that. So that's a really good way to do it. But if you want your agent to be learning on the fly, like in the thread, let's say, let's say Atlas over here. I'll get the other Atlas up. Um, Bear with me. Let's say we've got Atlas and Atlas produces this research report and I don't like something about it. I can go into the prompt and edit that, but there might be certain things where I want it to like, I want to talk to it and be like, from now on, don't do this, right? You can actually input tools in your agent. And if you want an example of how that works, clone the MRP workforce in our marketplace and look at the HubSpot example because it has a good example of this. It's basically a tool that updates a knowledge base for the agent. So the more feedback you give it over time, it self-learns. So what that looks like is I'll give it advice, and then a special tool will be triggered, and it will say, "Hey, update our knowledge base." Essentially just like a bunch of rows, and it creates a new light item. It's like Ahmed said, we don't like this, so we don't do this anymore. And so it updates the knowledge that is attached to the agent, and that can just be like a sheet or something that is here. So look into that again. Look into the MRP workforce and the HubSpot agent there, because that's a really good example that our dear colleague Wei cooked up. It's really really impressive. And another good example of that is like customer support. No problem. Thanks for coming. Customer support. Let's say someone escalates, the agent escalates a request to you because it's never answered that question before. So then you answer that question. You can use the same thing, like it saves the question to the knowledge base. So now the agent knows how to answer it going forward. Doesn't have to keep asking you. So that's another example. And just wait to see if there's any more questions. Looks like decent amount of people have had to hop off. Yeah, Rudolph, I've seen your comment on this thread with regards to Google Drive. If you have sheets that have thousands of rows, yeah, we'd recommend with the Google Drive one. If it's static, hopefully it is, just upload it to knowledge base because the RAG capabilities are better right now than what we would have with Google Drive. If that makes sense. Like if you upload it natively to Relevance, we can vector search it a lot better if it has thousands of rows. So otherwise with Google, just smaller tables. You can do your own sort of RAG and name the tables different things, make them smaller, like sort of chunking, right? Um, so yeah, look into the concept of RAG if you haven't already, and just sort of use that ideology, but create different files. Looks like we might have a few more questions coming through. I'll probably take one or two more, and then I'll leave it to Alex to close off. Can a sales workforce or agent be triggered by a form embedded on a website like a lead form? Uh, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is one word: webhook or native integration. So if you go into workforce, we go into trigger, you can often connect a lot of these forms to webhooks. But you might also want to try the tool trigger if it's a tool that Relevance is integrated with, and you can like tie it to an API call or something. But I'd say webhook is probably your most reliable bet. So give that a go, Marco. That's how I would do it at least. But if it's on HubSpot or something, that might be good too. So the agent can update the knowledge we put in the knowledge based on relevance through a tool. I'll just quickly show you this, just so you can get your eyes on it. MRP works. Okay, Harry the HubSpot wizard is a good example. So Harry over here has a tool. Come on, Harry. Okay, Harry has a tool that is called My HubSpot CRM Knowledge. Proactively add knowledge about CRM. Uh, so whenever someone like asks a question or the agent learns something new from the user as they interact with the agent, and this is good when you're training it for a couple of weeks or a couple of days or whatever it is. It'll use a tool like this. By the way, you can clone this in Marketplace too. It'll use a tool like this to update the knowledge. So just a quick sneak peek as to what that tool looks like. You can basically connect the knowledge base, and then there's like just the user query, update the knowledge about the user's HubSpot CRM. So whatever the user said will be put in here, and then it will just get added to a knowledge table, just be like another row in the knowledge table. And what that might look like is this over here. We've got like a bunch of different things. So I won't dig deep into that because I can't reveal certain things, but yeah, that's how it would work. Okay, might stop it there. But if you, I see there's some people typing still. So if you have any other questions, always available on LinkedIn. Feel free to ask me anything there. Otherwise, of course, we've got a brilliant support function too, though. So if it's more sort of support related or just simple questions, feel free to also chat to support because Alex is a superstar.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. And in terms of reaching out to support, we've got 3 support channels currently that you can reach out to. The community is the best one if you want to talk to peers such as yourself, as well as anyone in our team. And you can also reach out to my support team by emailing us at support@relevanceai.com. Or in product, you can click Command K in your keyboard or just click it on the sidebar and get help there or raise a support ticket if need be. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. And I really appreciate also people who have said they'd like some future sessions, especially around marketing. Juliana, quickly, your question around seeing all the agents created by Ahmed, you can actually filter by authors of agents and listings in the marketplace. So Ahmed is there and you can filter by him. I also recommend following Ahmed on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. I will send you guys the links to all those afterwards. If you're a TikTok fan, Ahmed is laughing at me. But on top of that, you can also go to his LinkedIn and see all the agents that he's talked about, and they should all now be in the marketplace, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. And again, thank you so much for joining, guys. We really appreciate it. And I'll be messaging each of you guys afterwards to just get your feedback on the session and learn about any other sessions you'd like to see. And on top of that, we will also have this recorded. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll end this now.
Thank you, everyone. Pleasure.